What would happen if Xenoblade Chronicles 2 only had balls? No, not that kind. Well, anyway, I decided to find out. Now, I can already hear you in the comments saying, but you can't remove mandatory blades. Why? I know, guys. I know. We're gonna bust the best we can with what we have, okay? Initially, we don't have any blades available to us at all. Rex starts the game with just a bladed sword, and he's feeling a little crabby about it. But after he takes out that crab, we grab some treasures in Argentum and take a quick dive. Using some DLC money, I grab 10 Narsapear jellies from the pastry shop, the most important item in the game, and we'll talk about that later. And then, Rex heads to the salvaging ship for his first mission. Malos, Jin, and Nia are automatically added to our party. We fight a big cockroach, we fight a big gator, and we receive our first blade, Pyra. So after whacking Malos with a big fire sword, the party is launched all the way to Gormat, and we experience our first field skill check. We're forced to use Pyra for this one, but from now on, unless no other blades have the right skills, I will only use balls for these field skill checks. We then gain access to Nia, and she will eventually be the main damage dealer for our party. More on that once we have balls.
Gagging on the balls.
But for now, I use a steam bomb blade combo to take out this sassy frog, and we head to Torrigoth. The soldiers here have it out for us, so I quickly defeat them, batter Bridget with our blades, and I pull my first blade. This is guaranteed to be a knuckle blade. But then we get the ability to pull as many blades as we want. So after we grab a bajillion core crystals from the DLC, Rex gets his first fireball blade, Shamoki.
There's a ball.
She bring it to you every ball.
I then pull until he gets an earth ball blade, Yura.
Okay, there. Now we have 2 balls.
And our journey truly begins. Before we pull more blades, there's one more blade crystal I have to acquire from the DLC, a firecracker of a gal. This crystal from Hurry Scurry holds Crossette, a staple in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 speedruns, and we'll talk about why in a bit. I grab some chips for my blades to increase their attack power and critical hit rate, and then we're off to rescue Nia. Heading into the ship, I give a big hug to one of my best friends in this challenge, the Ladder. More on him later, because we eventually rescue Nia, and she will be our main damage dealer for this run, as well as the main character we will control. And the first thing I have Nia do is bond with Crossette from the Ebullient Core Crystal. Anel explained Crossette's potential really well in a video that I will link in the description-do. But to make a long story short, she has 3 things going for her. First, every time she grabs a potion, she gains a huge damage increase up to 500%. That means she can do 600% of her base damage after grabbing a bunch of them. Second, she can create her own potions with one of her arts and one of her blade arts. That means we can activate this ability without any help. And third, she is of the fire element, which allows for some really cool tech. And the reason that I need her on Nia is that Nia is the only character who gets an art that inflicts the break status with balls. Normally the break status is useful because it inflicts topple, which disables an enemy temporarily and increases the damage dealt. But even without topple, break is hugely important to this challenge. And I will get into that in the next boss battle with Dougal. By breaking Dougal and then using a blade art, we can activate a fusion combo. These combos occur when an enemy has break, topple, or launch inflicted on them, and then you attack them with a blade combo. This will multiply all damage done by a huge amount on top of Crossette's already massive damage multipliers. And with all that extra damage, Crossette is able to finish off Dougal with a blade combo, and I gain my first pouch expansion. Remember when I mentioned purchasing Narsapear jellies? These are hugely important. In this game, there are 3 main actions you can take to deal damage. First, you can use a regular attack, which your characters will do automatically. This charges up your second damage source, arts, each of which has a different effect, and these do much more damage than regular attacks. But even more important, arts charge up specials, which I sometimes refer to as blade arts. These can do a ton of damage, provide temporary invincibility, and even seal away enemy abilities. But certain dishes, which you put into your pouch, allow you to skip that initial step, the step of charging up those arts. In particular, the Narsapear jelly that we purchased earlier does that better than any pouch item in the game, and the pouch expansion allows me to use 2 dishes at a time. That makes it even easier to build up those special levels and burn enemies to death, and I will be using these treats for the entire challenge. In addition, I also use a love source. This opens up Crossette's affinity tree. When unlocked, it will let me do random in-game tasks to raise her power level. Basically, it enhances enhances the things she already does or helps her do them faster, and it is definitely worth it. But I'm not able to open up any of Crossette's new skills yet because we are assaulted by the buxom blue babe Bridget and her driver Morag. And while I'm only using balls intentionally, this challenge kind of has an issue, particularly in the beginning. Anytime Nia uses her break art, this causes Rex to switch to Pyra to inflict Topple, and Tora's blade Poppy can do the same thing. As I mentioned before, Topple completely disables an enemy for a short period and causes your character's strikes to do more damage. And I can't really stop Rex from doing this, but eventually I'll be able to switch him out of the party entirely along with Tora once we have more members. Fortunately though, the majority of this battle's damage comes from one of Crossette's level 4 special attacks. This does over 20,000 damage even without Topple and soundly removes Morag from the battle. So I spend a bunch of time filling up Crossette's affinity tree and I seek out a new Titan, this game's equivalent of boats. And by the way, don't buy a boat. So we head to the continent of Uraya. Almost immediately, I get attacked by a giant frog and I die. But honestly, that's one of my favorite parts of the Xenoblade Chronicles series. Not dying, I mean finding strong enemies that are way above your level in random places. Rather than simply blocking off an area with a wall, like the Temple of Time in Wind Waker, for example, Monolith just kills you with a giant frog to prevent you from progressing. Cool. So I avoid that area and head into a fight with Vandam. Vandam actually has his very own blade Rock, 2 goons alongside him, and a pretty gnarly evasion stat, but I'm able to stack a burnout on a break later in the battle. This allows me to take out Vandam with some more arts, and with him down, his goons are soon to follow. This yields access to the mercenary camp, and I upgrade Crossette's weapon to a birch ball because birch please. And then we get access to Vandam as a party member, and I put him in the party. And sure, his blade isn't a ball, but Tora's blade can topple. This also seems like an unfair advantage given she also isn't a ball, and I want any huge battle benefits to come only from balls whenever possible. So this seemed like the most logical way forward. And maybe that was a mistake, because our next opponent is the rampaging Ardain, and because I still can't take Pyra out of my party and Vandam teaches her how to topple broken enemies, she provides more help than I'd hoped for, and Vandam is able to use his blade to launch it. That being said, I don't think the launch really mattered as my damage was good enough that the bonuses from launch were negligible. And then we transition directly into the giant spider fight, because when you say transition, that counts as a transition. The Elder Arachno has some significant break resistance, so it's kind of difficult to get good damage. I largely rely on my blade combos to do damage, and fortunately, because Crossette is a fire type blade, I can take advantage of damage over time effects to whittle down this big bad spider. Damage over time effects are actually quite powerful. Burnout, which is caused by using 2 fire specials in a row, will do 8% of the damage your special did every 1.5 seconds. Unfortunately, I can't use these to their full potential, which I'll definitely discuss in another video. But for now, you can see that I'm doing 1600 damage every 1.5 seconds, even after the spider kills Nia. And eventually, Nia does manage to break the spider, and I'm ultimately able to use a level 4 special to finish off this arachnid and gain the core crystal of Wulfric. And you might think that he's completely useful because he's a spear blade, but his field skills actually do come in really handy, even though I can't battle with him. More on that later. If I remember, I don't know if I put that in the script. I take a little bit of time after this to battle and unlock more of Crossette's affinity tree, and then we hit Fonsamima. This is one of the most pretty cities in the game, but what's not pretty is the next battle against Akos and Malos. On my first try, I focused my attacks on Akos. This is because he can inflict the Shackle Driver status effect. This stops all of my characters from performing actions temporarily. He'll do this throughout the battle, and it's completely crippling. And just for fun, he can also inflict the Shackle Blade ability, which is a little bit less damning since it only disables specials. But since those are my primary damage output, it's still pretty awful. And funny enough, I'm able to get some solid breaks on Akos, but ultimately I can't keep up with the damage he and Malos can do, and I die. To beat them, I'm gonna need more firepower. And to do that, I have to go back to Gourmet. By climbing on some boxes, I can ascend the rooftops and open this box. Except wait, I can't because I don't have the right field skills.
Oh, I don't have the stats for it.
But once I open up Poppy's affinity tree with a love source, feed her some carbs, and talk to a million Napon, I'm able to unlock enough field skill points to open the red barrel. This barrel contains a wood chip, which I can use to upgrade Crossette's balls, giving her a crap ton more attack. So I try again. And even this extra power isn't enough to prevent the onslaught of Big Muscle Man and Tiny Twink. My initial strategy is just to get a good fusion combo going on Akos, but on my next try, I can't even get Akos broken and I get almost immediately toppled. And as much as I love just lying there in the bedroom, I'm not really into this. My actions constantly get interrupted during this battle, completely disabling Crossette, and eventually I die. But I do come up with a plan.
So here's what I'm gonna do. I am not gonna focus on Akos at all. It seems like when Akos gets to like 75%, not only does he start taunting, but he also just gets harder.
That's what she said.
So I focus down Malos this time, and the result is that Akos focuses all of his attacks on Tora. With the slightly lessened offensive pressure, I'm able to reduce Malos's HP to half. This triggers Pyra's awakening into Mithra, as well as the second phase of this battle. And while Mithra is glorious and powerful, my complete focus is devoted to Nia, who promptly dies. And on try number 2, I'm ready to fall off the cliff into oblivion. Oops. But on my third try, I have a plan. Crossette's special can cause blowdown, so I'm gonna try to knock Akos off the cliff, which doesn't work since Malos taunts my team and shackles everyone. So I just focus all of my energy on Malos, getting off a huge special with a damage over time effect right as Akos shackles the team again. But once it wears off, I'm able to use a level 2 special to cause a burnout effect as well as heal Nia to full. And while Nia does get shackled, the damage over time effect finishes off Malos. And with Malos down, Akos is a lot more manageable. He does still use his shackling shenanigans, but most of his damage was tied to Malos's attacks. That means we can attack Akos and take him down with a level 2 special. And as is tradition on this channel, Nia and Crossette did all the work and a man takes the credit, dealing the final blow to Akos's blade Abrona, Men. We've now lost access to Vandom because he became one with a life stream. But a bunch of boring story quests and a battle with some belligerent bird brains yields access to his bird blade after I bond it with Rex. This means we can now dispel miasma using his field skill and bench him. And in case you were looking for a ballsy update, Nia now has Crossette and Boreas, and Rex now has Florin and a standard fireball blade. Fortunately, this will often stop Rex from switching to Pyra, because the AI in this game loves to switch to blades who can finish off a blade combo. This means that whenever Crossette uses a blade combo, which is fire elemental, he will be motivated to switch to a fire blade to continue that combo. Previously, his only fire blade was Pyra, but with a fireball, he'll often switch to that instead, helping me more stringently adhere to this challenge's rules. And speaking of rules, at this point, the game allows me to remove characters from my party. This means I can now remove the permanently ballless Tora, leaving me with just Rex and Nia. Glorious. And also speaking of rules, the bandits behind the ether miasma don't follow any. But despite that, they're closer to a mini-boss than an actual boss, so they get wrecked reasonably quickly. My bevy of balls then bounces to Mor Ardain, and we're challenged by the robot Lila. And while Lila has some powerful offenses, I'm able to hit her with a level 3 blade combo, dealing 101,000 damage and taking her out relatively quickly after that. But the struggle isn't over. I initially focus all of my energy on Morag, trying to inflict the break status. And once I get it, I lay into Morag with a blazing fast level 2 special, getting a juicy damage over time effect inflicted. And then I parlay that into a chain attack. This takes Morag down below half health, but unfortunately she eventually gets the better of me with a strong attack, and I die. I modify my strategy the second time, taking down her cronies first. And once they're gone, there are no distractions. I've gathered the 5 potions to improve my damage, and I hit Morag with a level 3 blade combo that deals 130,000 damage. And this is more than enough enough to ruin Morag's day. And you know who else's day gets ruined? This old guy who chokes on a dumpling. But hey, listen, we get Ves's core crystal when he bites the big one, so that's cool. What we did not get, though, is a streamlined way to beat this giant spider, who destroyed my team more times than I'd care to admit. Actually, it was just one time, because after that, I just avoided him. I'm a coward. But don't worry, I got revenge by killing Judicial Colin, no relation to the chocobo by the same name. And speaking of Colin, I'd like to call in a favor. If you're enjoying this video, please make sure that you're subscribed to this channel. It helps support my art, it's free, and every Supreme Court Justice named Colin recommends it. Thank you. Anyway, I hit kind of a roadblock here. Some of the regular enemies in the factory area are just too strong, so I die. But then I just run past them and up a ladder. I mentioned ladders earlier, and that's because all enemies automatically stop attacking you if you're climbing a ladder. And this is because attacking someone on a ladder is an OSHA violation. We're all about safety here on the Tantacles YouTube channel. So I head to the next area, but there are hordes of Ignas up here. And worst of all, after they see my buxom balls, one of them dashes into the fort to grab an adult. And that adult is a unique monster. A unique monster who completely destroys me within seconds. Should I say it again? I'm gonna say it again. I died. So I take a different route. And on this route, I run into our next mini-boss, Zeke. And let's cut to the chase here. The battle with Zeke is easy, and he and his geeky blade blast the ground and get chased away by a boulder. Neat. So I head back up to that area with the lizards. I sneak past the first set, I get detected by another set of lizards, and I die. This was a low point. I really thought that would work. And then I die again. And then I fall off a cliff.
No. Oh my God. I hate it.
But I do have one more tool in my arsenal. By resting at an inn, I can finally use my bonus EXP, which accumulates whenever you discover a new area. And after all that effort, what actually launches me is...
Oh, landmark!
After running by the lizards again, I discover a landmark, meaning now I can just warp past the lizards without having to fight them. Yay. And of course, what I ultimately realized is that everything I did during this section was a colossal waste of time, because the actual path forward is to go down past the original ladder section, which means I didn't need to torture myself with the lizards at all, and I wasted a ton of time. So I lower a ladder and I head into the factory. And after a quick fight with some bad burbs, we have another fight with Lila. And gosh, I wish that Lila weren't a fire elemental fiend, but fortunately, my bonus EXP has put me at a nice level compared to her. And while this nasty woman is able to launch me up into the air, I am able to finish her off with a huge chain attack, which has the added benefit of nabbing me some bonus EXP. But that leads us to a fight with another bad bot, Rosa. So after gathering my potions, I use the same strategy. Try to get a break. However, after Rosa's HP goes to 3/4, the battle is temporarily paused. And sadly, the game forces Tora into the party here, ruining my ballsy plan to exclude him. But despite that, it doesn't matter much. Near the end of her rope, I get a break on Rosa and lead that into a huge chain attack. And Crossette is able to finish off Rosa in a single attack, meaning Tora's contribution with his non-balls is inconsequential. And with the battle complete, I'm able to once again remove Tora from the party and head into a bout with Patroka and Mikhail. I focus my attacks on Mikhail initially, but once his health is reduced to 3/4, the battle automatically pauses to add Morag to the party. Unfortunately though, Morag doesn't have any balls, so she has to hit this one out. And wow, I realize that I have just shamed her for not having balls. I'm sorry, Morag, I love you, and I'm sure you will grow some balls very soon. But for now, I once again focus all of my attacks on Mikhail. Once I'm able to get a break on him, I go for a level 1 special with Crossette, but I unfortunately miss my fusion combo, meaning we're gonna have to try that one again. And unfortunately, his Berserk March attack counters pretty much anything I can do temporarily, so I have to take some time to heal. But once that wears off, I get toppled. Why? Fortunately, Crossette's level 2 special is hugely strong even without a break on Mikhail, and it not only does a ton of damage, but its damage over time effect is enough to finish him off. And with only Patroka left in the battle, things are looking pretty dire. Unfortunately, Rex's AI is a little too smart and topples her. So to make sure I'm not relying on Pyra, I wait until that topple wears off to use my chain attack. And once it does, Crossette completely whacks her. And with that, we finally gain access to Morag. My first order of business in the next section is to get Morag some balls. I start by giving her Vess's core crystal for a guaranteed ball, and I also manage to get her a water ball. Since she can't unequip Brigid, 2 balls are enough for now, but I do get her a couple more just for good measure, and I upgrade her equipment to catch her up to the rest of the team. But then it's off to the archipelago of Leftheria, and there's nothing you need to hear about here because while yes, this is one of the prettiest places in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, there aren't any powerful enemies here, unless you count Rex's mom, I guess. And I guess Zeke fights us here too, but it's not much harder than the last battle we had with him, and he goes down. Our next destination is the Indoline Praetorium. No battles here, but this place too is very pretty. And joy of joys, Zeke now joins our team. This means that I can get the man some blades and officially get Rex out of our party. That means there will be no toppling for the rest of the game. And since Zeke, like me, loves balls, I give him some. Then I use an overdrive protocol to assign Florin to him, meaning he's also emptied out Rex's balls. So all is as it should be. I also spend a crapload of time raising my affinity with my balls. Specifically, I feed my balls to raise Boreas's affinities since he's a useful tank. And after that baby grind is done, I head off to Temperantia. And there we fight the Titan Aishma. This enemy has 2 components, a core and some pipes in the back. Naughty. And the core can heal off all the damage I do. So it's best to just leave the core alone and fight the pipes. Unfortunately, this enemy has the ability to shackle my blades, blow me down good, and topple me. But fortunately, I set up a damage over time effect which destroys the pipes and the boss despite Nia's incapacitation. But the death of Aishma leads to a battle with Jin. And our goal, once again, will be to break him and set up a big fusion combo. Unfortunately, Jin specializes in disabling Nia, launching her, and this slows me down. Jin is also capable of lowering my blade affinities, completely disabling special attacks. To explain, when a blade is powering up its driver, there's a blue line between the driver and the blade. If you max out affinity, you'll see a gold line instead, and you get special benefits. Cooldown for arts decrease, and the level of your blades and specials increases, dealing more damage. But if affinity is low enough, that line between the blade and the driver completely disappears. Your blade hates you for some reason, and your only option is regular, degular arts. And to add insult to injury, Jin is massively evasive. If I were able to topple him, this battle would be easy. I could chain attack him to death. Eventually, though, I do get a break-in, and I get Crossette's special up. This allows me to set up a fusion combo, and once that happens, I parlay that into a level 2 special, once again setting up a damage over time effect. And finally, when his health is low enough, I chain attack. Crossette's initial special is enough to finish him off, and the rest of the team is able to increase the damage, getting us a bunch of juicy bonus EXP. But then finally, we can attack Aishma's core. Unfortunately, this enemy is immune to break, meaning I can't get a fusion combo. And to add insult to injury, it loves to shackle my balls and topple my kitty with its big-ass beam.
Punch my kitty.
I figure that my best strategy is to complete a blade combo with Boreas, which has the incredible effect of sealing blowdown in addition to dealing a ton of damage and full healing the party. And then, after switching back to Crossette, I'm able to collect more potions to build her damage back up. A level 2 special and a chain attack easily finish it off, getting me another juicy EXP bonus. I make a quick stop at the inn to use up some of my bonus EXP, which brings my characters to level 49. Then, at the Indoline Praetorium, we kill some birds that are poisoning the soup and fight Giga Rosa. And it's here that my damage gets a bit ridiculous. After getting off a quick special for potions, though, I realize that this battle kind of has a problem. Rex has been forced back into the party, and this means he's going to topple if I break Giga Rosa, which I do. And not only that, Zeke switches to Pandoria Uraya, who I can't unequip, to launch. That means my blade combo goes over 150,000 damage. So I decide to just finish her off with a chain attack. And this makes me feel less bad since Crossette does about 150,000 damage on her own. I was pissed though because this battle was definitely beatable with only balls. Zeke and Rex just ruined my chances. So listen, comment and wreck my shuffling on. We lose Zeke for a minute and Pyra gets captured. And honestly, we didn't really need her anyway, so whatever. But I guess we'll rescue her because why not? And the answer to that question is these Spirios who kill me.
Crappy.
This wasn't even a boss battle. Fuck. But anyway, Pyra being out of the party is actually great because now Rex can equip actually only balls and he's the only one who can. And by the way, Zeke has the best lines in this game because of his pet turters. For example,
Never handle another man's turtle.
is Zeke Scottish? No. Do I care? No. I do switch my controllable character to Zeke at this point because I want to try his pulverizing dunk art, which is cool for reasons I'll maybe talk about later, but maybe not. Poor planning is kind of my jam. But I do give Vess a chance to shine in the next battle. Her level 3 special is both pretty and powerful. Okay, I lied, it's not that powerful. But it does enough to be impactful and it has a nice area of effect. It's just a battle against a bunch of generic Tantalese knights, which sounds suspiciously like Tantacles knights. They still manage to obliterate Zeke within seconds, but after revival, he's able to make some stuff happen with a special. But even with Zeke doing his best as the player-controlled character, Neo with Crossette still seems more impactful. But I do finish the battle with a chain attack, getting a nice bonus. And with that, we head to the bottom of Tantal for an actual challenge. And I'm not just dicking around with balls anymore. I can stop telling bad jokes anytime I want. Is this an intervention? I'm out. Okay, I'm back. So for the battle against Patroka, Mikhail, and Akos, I switch back to controlling Nia. I go after Mikhail first since he tends to pull aggro and can be quite evasive. Nia and Crossette absolutely wreck in this battle, but Mikhail manages to evade Nia's breaking attack and blow her down. Oh my god. Did I write this? Uses the blowdown status on her several times. But what I notice is that they don't do much damage to her. Even when he manages to launch her, he can't seem to do enough damage to seal the deal, and he gets absolutely wrecked by some art soon after. And with him gone, Patroka feels a lot less threatening. I managed to get a break on her, but Akos shackles my blades right after, meaning I can't use a special to activate a fusion combo, which means I switch my target to him at this point instead. And he is evasive, but he lacks vitality. And eventually I get bored of him evading and I use a level 4 special to become invulnerable. And then I melt away his health bar, which makes Patroka the last woman standing. Her break resistance is paltry, meaning I'm able to set up a quick fusion combo on her and eliminate her with arts. But with her death, Jin joins the fray, and this is where things get awful, because Jin almost immediately topples, launches, and smashes Nia, killing her within seconds. The party is able to revive her though, so I recover as best I can. Unfortunately though, he has the ability to reduce blade affinity, which we talked about before, and which disables my ability to use specials. But once his health is a quarter gone, the battle just ends, thankfully. And while Pyra is not yet saved, we have at least gotten through this gauntlet. You know, sometimes while I'm doing these challenges, I have the pleasure of being able to look back and say, wow, I f***ed up. But joyfully, not during this challenge. Yeah, I lied because I missed a crucial item in Temperantia, the beta scope.
And I probably should have gotten it right when I came to Temperantia. Is it right there? Is it literally right here and I get a free beta scope? Haha!
The beta scope decreases enemy resistance to the break status. And since my only way of increasing my team's damage is by creating a fusion combo with the break status, this item is absolutely crucial. Especially since it's now time to head to King Agni's tomb, a dungeon that will severely weaken my abilities. And as I get deeper in the tomb, my higher level specials will be disabled. In preparation, I pull some blades for Zeke. While his current roster is okay, my hope is to fill his sack with balls that have extra critical damage. And that does not work out. And you know what else doesn't work out? My battle against these Scorpox. They just completely wreck me. And that's not the only f*** up I have.
Wait, I should be using Rex, technically, because Rex doesn't have Mithra or Pyra, right?
This means he's technically the only character who can equip only balls. So I switch him back in and I am ashamed. But eventually I make my way to the portal of the hero where I tackle my next challenge, the fight with the phantasms. The goal in this battle is to weaken all of the phantasms and then take them out all at once. This way they can't multiply. But regardless of what the strategy is, Crossette is able to melt through 3 of them relatively quickly. The final one then gets broken and gets exploded by a level 1 special. This gives Nia the ability to do a spoilery thing, but she'll literally never use it because it would remove her balls.
Phrasing?
So after a quick trip to the Hardhide dock, we are ferried to the cliffs of Moritha. And the only obstacle here is Malos. And once again, Malos can bind my blades with Monado Jail. But fortunately, this doesn't disable my characters, just my specials. And it also doesn't last for long, and I'm eventually able to attack again. Or I would be able to attack if all of Malos' attacks didn't have blowdown or knockback, interrupting my abilities. But eventually, I managed to set up a damage over time ability with Crossette to whittle him down. He's able to take out Nia, but she's quickly revived. And fortunately, dying removes all of her aggro. That means that Malos will now target my other characters, which results in something funny happening. Malos knocks Morag into a hole, the nutsack of the stage, if you will, and he has to chase her down there since his weapon is short range. And even though I'm throwing balls at him, that means that I have to pursue him as well. But funny enough, the hole has more enemies in it, they all get aggroed, and I die. So on try number 2, I keep my balls far away from any hole.
Any hole is a goal.
That's what she said.
I'm able to hit Malos with a huge burnout to set up a damage over time effect again, but once that wears off, Malos whacks Nia with a huge Monado Buster attack, taking her out. And on revival, Crossette's affinity is so low that she once again can't use any specials. That means Malos is able to take down Nia again, destroying my chances at a win. But on try number 3, I'm finally able to get a level 3 special with Crossette. And while this damage number isn't nearly as impressive as some of my others, it's still enough to get Malos below half health. That being said, he's able to take out Nia soon after with a Monado Buster, once again putting me in a terrible place. But after revival, I changed my strategy a bit. I'm no longer aiming for a big hit with Crossette.
I mean, I guess I'm just going to use any specials that I possibly can since he's going to steal them anyway. And if I can get a chain attack off once his Monado armor wears off, that could actually win the battle.
And somehow my other characters manage to draw in some aggro at this point. So Malos first takes down Morag and then directs his attention at Rex. But Crossette's huge damage eventually draws aggro again, and Monado Eater steals away my character's special levels. But eventually, they come back. And I have Morag and Vess use a special to heal the party. But suddenly, a miracle happens. For the first time in this battle, Nia manages a break, which pauses Malos' attacks for a brief moment. And Malos' attacks are focused on Morag because of her huge healing special, meaning I have time to whittle him down some more. And finally, Nia is able to take him out with an acrobatic bomber attack. And frustrated by his weakness to balls, Malos dives into the abyss, never to be heard from. Just kidding, he comes back like 5 minutes later. But this is the part of the video where I give kisses to my cat, so it's okay. Except it's not okay, because Malos comes back with Jin, but somehow I get off a level 3 special with Crossette. Sadly, Jin then taunts my team, meaning I can't target Malos, but in an odd stroke of luck, Malos kills her. This removes the taunt status, and I can now switch my target back to Malos on revival, and I see salvation right in front of me. 4 potions that will both heal Nia and boost her damage massively. And then she gets wrecked. Twice. And But on the second try, even though Jin taunts the team, it somehow wears off within seconds, and I'm able to switch my target back to Malos. I managed to use a level 1 special and inflict Malos with Break, boosting my damage. And fortunately, I don't have to defeat Malos. The battle just ends once his health is halfway depleted. Rex gains the power of Mithra's second set of balls, colloquially known as boobs. And this next battle represents the one time that I literally cannot use balls. The power of green boob cannot be switched out, and Rex cannot die when in green boob form. And to add insult to injury, the game switches in Tora for some reason. But hey, not my fault, not something I can control, and I can't even die to reset the battle, so I just win it. But unfortunately, the power of green boob now overwhelms Rex, and he falls into a deep, dark hole.
That's what she said.
We awake in the land of Moratha, and Rex, with the power of green boob, now has some cool new powers. He can now take anyone's balls for himself. Unfortunately, though, he cannot engage Crossette because that is Nia's main blade. But that's alright, because all we have to do is find her. Before that, though, we have to fight the Infernal Guldo. However, the game tries to sabotage us with a tutorial for how to use green boob, but I just use balls instead. I should also mention that Jin is now required to be in my party, so honestly, he does most of the work. And this battle looks like it's going to take forever, but once a quarter of Infernal Guldo's health is depleted, the battle ends and Nia finally joins us again. So now, I simply remove Rex from the party. I allow the Infernal Guldo to kill my party, and now the game is completely changed. The appropriative power of green boobs means that I can take Bridget away from Morag, I can take Dromark away from Nia, and I can take Pandoria away from Zeke. And what this means is that all three of those characters can now be equipped with only balls. Finally. So back to the Infernal Guldo. This battle is gonna suck, because within 10 seconds it completely wrecks Nia and I die. The second time goes a bit better because I'm able to break him right away. I hit him with a huge mega explosion, and this gets his health to about half. But I need to fulfill my plan before he awakens. First, I have Zeke use an Earth special with Florin. Then, I wait for Nia's level 4 special to charge. And once Nia breaks him, I immediately have her use her level 4 special. This not only deals massive damage, but also creates the most powerful damage over time effect possible, Volcano, dealing 11,000 damage per tick. And once that wears off, I have Nia break him again and set up yet another fusion combo. And to finish the battle, I go for a chain attack. Crossette is able to take him out with her first special, and he continues to take damage over time. He also tries to self-destruct during the sequence, but because of my earlier level 3 combo, he just does 999,999 damage to himself. And because of this enormous combo, my characters gain 4 levels each from the end of battle experience, and we're finally at the World Tree. The World Tree actually doesn't have a ton of bosses. It's mainly just a big climb to the top with a bunch of unique monsters on the way. But the one that gives me the most trouble is MK6 Margot. She uses the power of ChatGPT to summon 2 other robots to help her out, and she does pretty great damage on her own, completely obliterating Nia with extreme ease. On the rematch, though, I inadvertently do a great thing. By finishing a blade combo with an ice elemental special attack, I seal her shackle blade ability. And while this reversal might upset some of the kinksters in my audience, I was quite happy to be able to use all of my characters without interruption. So after breaking her and setting up a fusion combo, the end of her blade combo does a cool 250,000 damage to finish her off. This means I can use the key code she was guarding to open the next section of the tree. But that's not even the best thing that happens here, because Boreas, with his his big, beautiful, ballsy body, manages to just bonk a Geralf Sovereign off a bridge, and he falls to a lower platform, so I can't attack him. But once I break through his comrades, he just gives up because...
Nope, we're on the elevator. We're good. Elevators and ladders are the kryptonite of these enemies. Once you're on an elevator, they're like, no, that's a safe space.
And just for fun, outside on another bridge, I get ambushed by about 17 enemies. It feels like every time I get through something big, I am completely smothered by another challenge. But don't worry, because once I get through that group of enemies by completely ignoring them, we're on to the final boss gauntlet, starting with Jin. And for some reason, Jin is not nearly as challenging as his previous iterations. He doesn't even manage to kill Nia once, and I'm able to finish him off with a chain attack. But after him, the true challenge arises, Amalthus. And with his giant Tantacles, this daddy will wreck my shit. The biggest problem, though, is his evasion, which causes me to miss a ton of my attacks. This means it's very difficult to inflict the break status because in order to break him, I actually have to hit. I start by using a level 3 blade combo on him. This will decrease my damage because he now has a fire orb, but it's necessary because it allows for a 2-turn chain attack. Even with damage reduction, though, when Crossette's arts hit, they hurt.
That was a nice chunk of damage right there. Do you guys see that?
Her second level 3 blade combo does even more, but Amalthus now gets some new tools. For example, God Rage, which causes temporary invincibility and immediately launches me, and then he enrages. And I cannot believe that I haven't talked about enraging yet, because at a certain HP threshold, usually half, bosses in this game enrage. They get a ton of bonuses, new moves, increased resistances, they just all around become extremely broken. And Amalthus is one of the biggest offenders. His 1000 Tantacles attack is now a complete nuisance, dealing a ton of damage and also interrupting my team's actions with the break status. And worst of all is his Sacred Arrow attack. This overkills Nia, and because my party gauge is now depleted, I can't revive her and I die. But even worse, the biggest problem in this battle is honestly his break resistance. If I could just get a single break on him, it would make a fusion combo followed by a chain attack possible. And on my second try, I get it. And I even have 2 orbs on Amalthus. So I activate a chain attack, and in order to progress through the round, I need to break one of those orbs. My first attack hits the ice orb, and my second attack hits the fire orb.
Oh, I messed up. Oh, I messed up so hard. No, I messed it up, guys.
I messed up because I don't have a blade that can destroy either orb, meaning I can't continue the chain attack. Basically, each orb has 3 health. Hitting an orb with a neutral element will decrease its HP by 1. Hitting it with its weakness, for example, hitting a fire orb with a water orb will decrease its HP by 2, and it's guaranteed to hit that orb. So I've done 1 HP of damage to each orb, but I have no way to do 2 damage to either of the orbs to defeat them, which would continue the chain attack for another round, yielding even more damage. And because I can't do that, the chain attack ends, and within seconds, Amalthus's guilty road attack Nia caps Nia, and we're back to square one. And after this comes a marathon of awful. I just can't get a good foothold. I die time after time after time. But finally, I get a stroke of luck. Nia hits a huge break at the beginning of the battle, creating a massive fusion combo. And I'm able to parlay that into a level 4 special, which stops the timer on the fusion combo and deals over 800,000 damage. And of course, I immediately use a chain attack. Unfortunately though, Crossette isn't available for the second round of the chain attack, and my hopes are completely dashed. I can't get my chain attack built up fast enough to recover, and once again, I die. But I decide to give it one last shot. And right away, I get a huge stroke of luck. I set up an orb with Crossette, which of course does a ton of damage, but not enough. But immediately after that, Crossette is able to break him, which is huge. So I use her level 2 special to double stack the fusion combo and launch immediately into a chain attack. After the first round, Amalthus is below half HP. And in round 2, Crossette is available, and she just totally wrecks. And editor, just play back that clip again with the wow sound effect, please. Thank you. But still, it's not enough. My other balls put out the rest. Vest does a little bit, but then I notice something. Amalthus still has a damage over time effect ticking. It's not only my other blades killing Amalthus. Crossette's burnout has been stacking up damage throughout this entire chain attack. And because of this, Zeke's final ball blade, a generic one, is able to do 60,000 damage and take him out.
Yes! He is dead. That was awesome. Oh, I'm so happy about that. I just needed one orb.
And this takes us to Xanarkand.
Hold it!
Shit. I mean, Elysium. Elysium. I meant to say Elysium, guys. Okay. On entering the beautiful rotted wasteland of Elysium, I am faced with a harrowing challenge. A giant escalator. Those things are terrifying. We weren't meant to fly, folks. But also, I'm faced with a series of battles for only Rex. So because he can now equip all blades, he gets to use Crossette. First against Nia and Dromark, who don't have much to offer in the way of offense. So once Crossette gets her special built up, it's not long before the kitties take a nap. Next up are Morag and Brigid, and while they're strong against fire, it doesn't really matter. It's sleepy time for these loyal ladies. Tora and Zeke are the final battle of this mini gauntlet, and once Crossette melts away Baby Blob's health bar, Zeke's tiny testicles don't stand a chance against our massive balls.
That's what she said.
And with that, we head on to our final challenge against the Windows 11 of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Malos. And if you're watching this video and Windows 12 has already been released, I'm sorry, because Windows 12 is probably worse. The first phase of this battle has standard goals: deal damage, don't die. And I go with standard tactics, getting as many potions as possible before I spam arts. I get an orb on him relatively quickly, but this guy presents a big issue. He can completely negate all healing. So I use a level 4 special to avoid damage, and I deal some good damage in return. He eventually summons some friends though. And while it's annoying to have more targets, it is nice that they have less resistance to the break status. This means I can boost my damage against them extremely effectively with fusion combos, and a steam bomb makes quick work of them. A chain attack then brings Malos low enough that it's time to start phase 2. And this is where things get tough, because not only do I now have to take him out, but if I take too long, he'll just blow up the entire world and me with it. But that time limit does not matter, because Artifice Ion uses Siren Buster, an attack that wipes out my entire team in one hit, and it brings me back to the beginning of the battle. And while phase 1 went swimmingly on the first attempt, I come nowhere close to finishing it this time, and I die spectacularly in the next attempt. But the next time, I managed to set up a huge combo. This final boss is vulnerable to the break status, and I take full advantage with a level 4 blade combo finisher. And because of this, my next special finishes him off, allowing me to prevent him from summoning fiends. In phase 2, he once again starts off with a Siren Buster, but I'm able to gain invincibility by using a chain attack. The damage from it isn't amazing, but we survived, so I'm happy. I focus on using level 4 specials to avoid as much damage as possible, and then I break him. I use my level 2 special, and then I start a chain attack to get as much damage as possible. But sadly, I miss the affinity check on the second round, which means I have a huge problem. Crossette is not available, which means my only choice is to switch off of her and use another ball. That means that the damage from picking up potions now completely goes away, and her damage is incredibly mediocre. And to make things worse, new friends now get summoned to make my life miserable. And I get so low on health that I'm forced to chain attack to finish off one of them, which means that I now don't have any way to defend against any big damage from the big guy, which means he slams the team with a Siren Buster and I die. And I beat my head against the wall over and over. I get a little closer each time, but I never completely clinch it. But finally, I get good, because I equip Nia with the Leader's Eye Patch. This will multiply my damage every time I cancel an auto attack into an art or special. And with this extra damage, a chain attack takes him into phase 2. But something cool happens. I use a chain attack to bop him, and he goes into phase 2 in the middle of it. And because he goes into phase 2 in the middle of a chain attack and not at the end, my chain attack gauge gets refunded when phase 2 starts. This means I can now use a chain attack to avoid Siren Buster. And very soon after, I managed to get an orb on him with Nia's level 4 special. And Ion then releases Servants, which is a great opportunity to build up my party gauge, because one of them gets broken and using a special while he's broken activates a fusion combo and refunds an entire bar of my party gauge. But eventually, the party gets completely wrecked. But I have to try just one more time. So I get Ion into phase 2 with a blade combo. I block Siren Buster with a chain attack, and he gets broken while a steam bomb is active. Then Crossette's level 4 special does colossal damage to him, and I parlay that double stacked fusion combo into a massive chain attack. And you can see that the damage from Crossette's portion is just colossal, melting away Ion's health bar. But it's not quite enough. So Crossette deals enormous damage with an art that gets stacked onto some steam bomb damage. Then Zeke protects the party with a level 3 blade combo. And with a final ball blast, Nia takes out Ion, finishing off my channel's hardest challenge yet. And if you liked this video, I have an entire playlist of RPG challenge runs that you should check out right here. Thank you so much to my Tantacles who support my channel financially, and if you want to become one of them and get early access to my videos, click the join button in the description. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.